Over the past year on YouTube, I've built a variety of droids and mechs of different shapes and sizes. But today, I want to pull back and build the space where some of these droids may have been manufactured. Okay, so to start things off, I have this wooden frame that I got. And I cut some sides here from a bit of thin plywood, or particle board, I think in this case. I also made a quick floor using a piece of paper and some EVA foam, and that fits right on the frame. Doing a bit of sanding on the side before gluing them on because I'll be gluing more foam to those walls, so I want a good space to glue to that'll stick. For the droid itself, I'm using one of these little posable dummies that I have. I've used these in a lot of my videos in the past, and I'm going to focus on the top half for now. The overall shape of this is going to be similar to my medical droid that you saw in the opening clip. I'm just basically recreating that with a different color tone. I use this super thin super glue to lock all the joints in place so that I can start adding the greeblies. And those are guitar strings. Working on the legs, I basically just add some more greeblies. I only do one of them because that's the one he's working on the workbench. Speaking of workbench, I have these pieces of wood and I cut them up into a bench shape. This is just basswood that I got from my local craft store. I'm taking this old excavator toy. Thank you, Miles, for your sacrifice. I'm going to use parts of these as the hoist that will hold the droid up. And I cover some of the parts with some styrene and shave away the extra with my X-Acto blade. Just be careful if you're going to use this technique, okay? These are just aluminum caps off of something, a bamboo straw, and then I'll glue the entire thing to a wooden base, and then to another plastic base that I think came from an old toy car I had. Moving on to the walls, this is foam core, and I'm just going to take the paper off of it. And for these foam core walls, the cheaper the foam core, the better. This stuff is from Dollar Tree, and the paper comes off really easily. The more expensive stuff, the paper does not come off very easily at all. So anyways, I start scoring in the brick patterns using a pencil and this little tool that's used for clay work. I then go through and mark out each individual brick, skipping a row every time so that the bricks are alternating like in the real world. And this isn't hard work, but it does take a while and it can get a bit of mind-numbingness to it. So as you can see here, I kind of messed up and did a full row down, but you don't really see it in the end. I then take a few bricks and knock them down to look like missing or chipped out bricks and continue on the other wall. Luckily the other wall was easy because I didn't have to fill out the door frames or the windows. Speaking of door, more of that basswood, and I will fill it out with a bit of coffee stir sticks. I also build a set of stairs out of that same foam core to get from the door to the bottom of the diorama. I put a first coat of watered down Mod Podge on the walls and the stairs, and this is just the first layer of a few that will come later, but it's good to just have this first layer to build off of. I wanted to build a diagnostics machine that would be attached to the droid, and so I'm taking apart this fire truck that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use this back part with a couple other greeblies to build that machine out. And this was inspired by the machines in Fallout 4 that are always next to power armor stations. I have these empty CO2 cartridges, and I'm going to use them to build a little oxyacetylene torch system. And these broken hanger clips, with a bit of bending and grinding, fit really well on these little empty tubes. And a bit of foam core to glue everything together. I also build a little regulator out of some greeblies, and that will attach to the base of the cartridges. I start working on the windows, and I have a 3x3 inch template and a piece of Lexan. And the 3x3 inches will fit perfectly into the 3x3 inch squares that I cut out of the wall. After scoring the Lexan a few times, I try to break it by just bending it, and I had quite a lot of difficulty. It is quite unbreakable, but after a bit of elbow grease and my entire body weight, I was able to break it on the score line. I then cut the rest of it out into our little 3x3 squares, which fit very nicely in the holes I cut out. Satisfying. Look how clear and shiny it is. Ooh, it's not gonna last. I'm going to use some 150 grit sandpaper and rough up both sides, and then also spray it with a coat of matte clear. I want these windows to be frosted and old looking. I then start working on some cracks in the window panes. I'm doing just one pane at a time because in theory, all of these little window panes are separate. They're not one big sheet like I made here. These are tiny little styrene rods that I've painted black, and I go through carefully gluing them all in place to make the window frame. Now this process took a while. It took, I think, maybe like 30 minutes to do both windows, but it wasn't hard. It was just tedious and working with small things. And then a bit of weathering to add some more details. You know how it is. And I use brown and black wash just to give some color variation. I want the diagnostics machine to be built into the wall, so I'm cutting out a space for it and the hoist system which will be sitting on top of it. My first layer of paint, this is just some of that gray mixed with my watered down Mod Podge, and I'm putting this over everything, including the bricks, just to give another layer of protection. I then put a full strength coat of gray where the concrete is, and that'll be my final color before weathering. And here I'm painting the bricks. This is just a bit of burnt umber mixed with a little bit of gray, just to lighten it. And here's all the pieces that I have to prime and paint. There are a lot of little bits. Those will go either on or under the table. To start the painting process, I grab an old kimchi container, Does have to be a kimchi container, I'm sorry, it can't be anything else. I grab my little wood pieces and I add some brown wash and black wash. If you don't know, this is just black acrylic paint and brown acrylic paint mixed with isopropyl alcohol. Shake it around and then I will leave those out to dry. And using that same color, I paint the door and the workbench. And I give it a bit of dry brushing with a light sand color. And here's everything being primed outside. Once everything has that black coat of primer, I go through and I silver dry brush basically everything that isn't wooden at least, and this will be a good base to paint off of. I built this storm cellar basement cover out of some styrene, and I will glue that in place. I basically built this because there was a big open space there in the corner and I wanted to fill it up. I then go through with that same black wash, black acrylic paint, isopropyl alcohol, all over the concrete colors, and then wipe away most of it, or dab away most of it with a paper towel. Same color again over the bricks and the concrete. I add some of this rust wash to my basement cover, and this just makes it pop a bit more because it was blending into the concrete too much. I then do a bit of dry brushing just to pop the details on those bricks. I can finally start painting the main pieces, and I start with a white base over everything because I'm going to be painting it with yellow. And if you've watched my videos where I've painted yellow before, you know that yellow doesn't show up on this black very well. So I do a coat of white first so that the yellow has something to stand out against. And the rest of this painting is pretty self-explanatory, so sit back and enjoy some smooth jazz and painting. So now that the main painting is done, I can clear coat everything with some of this matte clear coat, including the cylinders. And this is supposed to protect the paint from the weathering because mine is alcohol based. As you can see here, I didn't coat this one quite as well, and some of the white starts to shine through. So just make sure you really give it a good clear coat and give it time to dry before adding on weathering. I found a couple of these tiny books, and I'm going to glue a few together, and then using some weathering, I will weather them because they look too new right now. I also draw a couple diagrams in some of them that will be open on the desk. I'm gonna add white paper to the back of the windows because I want them to look like the inside of the factory, and as you can see here, sometimes only the white light shines through because the windows are so frosted and diffused. I made this little poster off camera. If you recognize him, let me know down below. I glue everything in place using a foam-safe superglue and tacky glue. Finally, I paint all the edges black, install some custom-built lamps, run all the electronics, including these really tiny little LEDs, and with that, it's basically done. Let's roll those beauty shots, shall we? Hey, thanks for sticking around at the end of the video. If you enjoyed, please let me know. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, put them down in the comment section and I'll try to get back to you. If you like this video, consider dropping a like, consider subscribing. I've got plenty more videos like this on my channel. I'm almost to 10,000 subscribers, which may not seem like a lot, but to me, it means the world. I will leave links in the description below to all the tools and materials that I used during this video. Again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.